Hear a lot of people sliding, people they terrorizing in the city that we lights go out. Hear a lot of mamas crying, people they steady dying in the city that we lights go out. Popping out a bag, run these mouths like track, think these move too fast. Lights go out. You can see in their eyes, these niggas despise in the city that we stuck in the.
Hello and welcome to the David and Nino podcast. I'm your host David.
I'm Nino.
And that was our artist Order Done, Lights Go Out. That's our theme music. Shout out to his manager Clint. Y'all keep grinding and keep pumping that good music. And thank you to all our listeners. We appreciate the support and we really appreciate everybody to continue to like and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate everybody. Keep supporting us. Nino, what's been going on here with you lately?
Ain't nothing. Just kind of keeping 2 cents going on and just keeping my head above water and just keep doing what I does. And Dave, we just keep getting to the topics. Trying to specialize in giving people what they want, and that's about it.
That's exactly what we do, and that's what we're going to be doing today. We really have a hot topic today. We have one of our listeners that called in anonymous, and he have a situation that's going on with him, and he want us to talk about it and give us all the feedback. And we have people that have sent in questions that they would like to ask about this situation. So let's get right to it. And the situation is a young man called in, and he says that he has been raising a child for 10 years who he loves so much, and he found out the child is not his. And it's very devastating to him. He told us a lot of the details of what's going on, and right now he's conflicted on what should he do. He want to ask the question, should he stay or should he walk away? And what do people think about this? Because he really, really loves his family, and he don't know what to do. This is very traumatic to him, and he want to see what people have to say about this very seriously, because this is a very delicate situation that happens in relationships. Now, we're not judging, but this is what he want our feedback on, and we have some questions that people called in and they would like to ask about this situation, and we would like to get our listeners' feedback on how would you deal with a situation about if you raised a child for 10 years who you love so much, and you love the mother, and y'all are married, and you find out the kid is not yours. Now, a little bit about the situation. They've been married for 11 years. And he has a very good job. And his wife worked up until she got pregnant, and she has not worked since. And she does everything that a wife should do as far as keeping the home. And he was very happy up until he found this out. Now, Nino, before we get to the questions, what do you have to say about this?
Well, this kid's, he done raised him 10, 11 years, and it's not that kid's fault. Now, I know everybody gonna say certain things about it, but my question was, okay, the wife, now, if you slept around, obviously you did, why you just didn't keep it 100 and, say something? Now, I'm thinking possibly the husband got a good job. Now, maybe the actual father doesn't have or bring in the money what the husband is bringing in or whatever, and maybe the mother looked at that. But why didn't you not, this, that, a woman know who she's pregnant by. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She knows who she's pregnant by. But I'm going to say this. You got a 10-year, 11-year bond with that kid. It's not his fault. Me, myself, I probably would raise him, continue to raise him, but I certainly would have some questions for my wife or that woman, because now I kind of feel betrayed.
Well, let's get right to the questions. Our first one comes from Tammy from Fort Worth, and her question is, where and who is the real father? And what does he have to do in this dynamic? Well, that's a good question. The real father, according to the caller, is not in the kid's life, and she has nothing to do with him. Now, without getting into more details, this was something that happened before they got married. Now, according to what was said after they got to talking and she confessed, even though they have been married 11 years, according to what we said, this happened close to the honeymoon, right before they got married.
Okay, David, so let me ask this. So what I'm trying to get say, he just found out, right? So obviously he didn't know. I mean, I know what you're saying. The situation with the other man, they slept together, and before the man and the husband, her had the honeymoon. But still, I mean, because men accept in this day and era women that have kids, something like that. It comes with the total package. Mm-hmm. Now, my thing with that was, sweetheart, why you just didn't keep it a buck with him and just say, listen, this happened because I had a history before you. Now, and I think he still would have been okay with it. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about right, the husband. Right, why you just didn't keep it? Because, David, that's a lot. That's a long time of carrying that burden on your shoulders, knowing this. And I know you're going to have good and bad times as a family and all this, but one day you're going to have to get them over your eyes and realize what you done did in the dark going to come to light.
Well, the caller, and that's what he wanted to get. He wanted to get our feedback without actually airing out their differences, because they both watch the channel. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to expose too many details about it, other than what would we do? And that's what he wants to know. And people have questions, and that was a legitimate question. And yes, they know who the father is now.
They know who the biological father is.
They know who the biological father is now.
Gotcha.
And our next question is from Kiara from Fort Worth. And she want to know, okay, since you know the kid is not yours, do you walk away or do you stay, or do you keep raising the child as your own?
Me personally, I raise the child. I mean, I'm in this with my wife because, like I say, the child doesn't have nothing to do with it. And since they do know, I mean, and people make mistakes. People make mistakes. I just think that, you could have got it off and then we could have went on, but people may, because see, David, that child now, in that child's eyes, his biological dad is not his dad. It's this man he didn't build this bond with for 10, 11 years. In his eyes, that's who that kid sees as his dad.
Yeah. Well, I would say, depending on how much you love the woman, I would stay and raise the kid still as my own at this point, because the kid has nothing to do with this, and your feeling for him should not have nothing to do with finding out that he is not your biological child.
Absolutely.
And that's a tough thing to do, but this is the right thing, I believe, to do, especially if you love the kid. There's no need in hurting him any further by telling him that you don't love him because he's not your biological kid. If you've been raising him and you love this kid, there's no need in bringing that up. And I think that I would stay, and I would continue to raise the kid as my own.
Yes.
Because
and he's probably a great kid.
Yes,
he's probably a great kid.
So Kiara, I would do. That's what my advice would be to our listener, that I would stay and continue to raise the kid as my own, no matter what, because the kid had nothing to do with this, and your love is unconditional.
Absolutely.
And thank you for the question, Kiara. We really appreciate that. And our next question comes from Chris from North Carolina, and his question is, should a man be forced to pay child support for a child that's not his, not his biological kid? What do you think, Nino?
No. If he already raised him, and I know they would, if that's not his biological kid, because I thought the main emphasis of child support is supporting the kid that you have then had relations with, intimacy, and you have brought him along, you have procreated him. So my answer is no. Now I know it's guidelines to that, and I know people have been submitted child support that's not biological, and I think it's crazy. But if that's not biologically his child or my child, I think no way he should have to pay child support if it's not his kids biologically.
Well, the only way I would say he should not have to pay child support is if this was established through DNA and the other father is brought forth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you are raising the kid as your own, and this happened, and there's no other father, whether there is a biological father elsewhere, but he nowhere to be found, you should pay the child support, because this is your kid, no matter whether he is biological or not.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I understand. But I thought you mean because with the husband. Oh yeah. Because you got to, you got to pay for what you done did and everything. You got to be responsible and held accountable for it. Exactly that. Yeah.
And I'm just saying that just if there's the other father's not involved in his life.
Yeah.
That's the only stipulation I have there.
Yeah.
But if the other father is active in his life, then that's a different story.
Yeah. And then a lot of times they settle out of child support, like they come to a mutual agreement where this father want to be in his life, and then they come through payments like that. Everything is not through the court, but of course, basically if he's not taking care of responsibility, then we have to go and get the courts in it.
Right. So thank you for your question. We really appreciate it. And thank everybody for sending in questions. That we really appreciate the support. And we hope we are helping our anonymous caller, because this is a very serious situation. And our hearts and empathy goes out that he makes the right decision that's best for him and his family. And our next question comes in from Kenneth from Fort Worth. And he wants to know, did she ever really love you, or was she just using you the entire time because you had a good job? And that's something that you always got to consider. If you have a good job and she didn't, did she just use you to have a baby with, so you would be able to take care of that baby in a better situation than the man that she's actually that's actually the true father? A lot of women look at things like that what can you do for me? Who would be the best provider? And if that was the case, you would have to really wonder, did she marry you because of what you could do for her and this child? Which would bring up another question, did you actually know from the start that this was another man's baby, Nino?
Possibly, I probably wouldn't, because I think he thought it wholeheartedly it was his kid. Now, saying that, and I agree with you on that, women do pick and choose, because, like I say, the biological dad or father could have been what you call in the bracket of deadbeat. So now the kid is here. So now the woman is only thinking strategically, like, okay, well, I got to go with this guy, and I'm gonna put it on him because I know he will get out and work and get a job, and then he's a provider and do the right thing like that. And that is a good question, Dave. I would say that too, because I would think about that too. Did this woman really love me, or she is just here for what she can gain from me, even though she probably would tell him, you know, I love you and all this, but can you really believe it? Especially the circumstances that have unfolded now.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. That, you know, because if you have a good job, you're always wondering if is it true love or is it what I can do for you.
What I can do for you.
And that would depend on the circumstances of y'all relationship and how y'all met. And like I say, a lot of those details we are not talking about. We just want to get everyone's opinion on how they would deal with a situation like this. And whether or not she got with you for your money at this point is irrelevant, because you have a child that you love, and that overrides the reasoning in the beginning. So she may not have, if you would have to think about that on how y'all met and the things that you did for her in the beginning. Did you spend a lot of money on her? Did she always ask for things, or did you pay her bills? You know, you would have to rethink yourself and wonder that and figure that out, because that would take some time, because you would have to look back on your relationship leading up to when y'all got married and this situation happened. And our next question, it comes from Dre out of Dallas, and he want to know, do women owe it to men to get DNA tests at birth? What do you think, Nino?
Yes, I believe that's a big rule that they should implement. Yes, because it is so many men that are raising kids and really love the kid and wholeheartedly thought it was their kid that's not their kid. Yes, that should be one of the main staples to start in the new regulations, and DNA testing automatically. Soon the baby come out, DNA testing. I agree with you 100% on that, because it will solve a lot of our problems now. It will solve a lot of them.
Yeah, one thing it would do, it create a lot of problems.
That's right.
It's gonna make your woman feel you don't trust her. It's gonna start off the relationship with no trust. Once you say that, especially if y'all have been going along like y'all love each other and there's no one else in the middle of this, and all of a sudden this happens and you're like, hey, I want a DNA test. That's saying to your spouse or your husband, you don't trust him. All of that I said in the beginning was a lie. I don't believe this baby's mine. That's basically what you're saying. If you're saying DNA, you know, you should get a DNA test at birth. That's throwing trust out the window.
Well, yeah, but okay. Well, let's look at the circumstances with it, because you know, women, it can be that you had it through your man that you was married to, but women do and men do too. You know, not going into this deeply, they do. Even though they married, they fall off and have flings and everything too. So saying that, but okay, to bag up on that, you might have a great point on that, because see, I'm basing it down. I was basing it on, okay, how quickly she got pregnant when they got married. Now, if they have been married for a while, and you know, and then she get pregnant, then probably not. But I was basing on, okay, they just got married and then all of a sudden this baby came, because again, and I'm just saying I seen through a ratio, and I was putting everybody out there, it is a lot of times that a lot of fathers are taking care of kids, not theirs, but then again, it does bring a problem too, because that woman will feel like, as you said, anything I tell you, you doubt it.
Yeah. So
I mean, because it's a catch-22 on it. It really is. It's a catch-22 on it. It really is.
Yeah, because I could imagine what my wife would have said if I'd have said that.
Yeah, right.
You know, hey, look, let's get a DNA test before
Right.
we get started.
It can bring doubt, because it also can say, okay, so now you testing me, you doubt me, everything that I tell you, I could doubt you, everything you tell me.
Yeah. So that one there is a tough one, because if you've been with that woman a long time and you trust her and she trusts you, that is an insult, and that is a breach of trust to say, where I've never believed anything you said in the beginning. I think you are sleeping with somebody, and I want to make sure. So once that happens, it's going to be tough to come back from that. I got to tell you. Thank you for your question. I really appreciate that, Kenneth. And our next question comes from Nene out of New York City. How you doing, Nene? And she says, what would hurt more, losing the child or losing trust in the woman you love? And that's tough. But it depends on how much you care about that child. You know, I would say.
I know what I would say.
You know,
It's losing the woman that I trust, because that child might not be mine anyway. So because I went. No, I'm just personally.
No, go right ahead.
No. It's losing that woman that I trust, because, like I say, this child might not be mine anyway, but it hurts. But because, like I say, I married this woman for a partnership, for hopefully a lifetime, eternally of building together and living our best life throughout. You know how long we are granted to live that. Now, that's just me personally. I know a lot of people might say the child, but I want my partner.
Yeah. No, and I understand completely. And to me, you know, there's no right or wrong here in this. And I know our anonymous caller talked about how much he loved his wife and his child. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I was hesitant in the beginning before I answered and brought up about the child is because a lot of the times when something like this happens, even though you never in that woman's life again, you stay in that child's life some kind of way because of that bond that you have developed with that child, and you knowing the child was innocent, and you knowing the child needs a father in his life. You know the hurdles, the pitfalls he have to go through growing up.
Or she has to go.
Or she has to.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Nino.
Mm-hmm.
Or she has to.
Mm-hmm.
And you knowing as a responsible man who loves that child, that you want to be there for him, no matter what happened with the woman. And as a man, you know, you get over a broken heart.
Yeah, because you can replace a relationship, but a lot of times you can't replace a child.
Yeah, because you got a lifetime of dealing with that child.
So
that's why I said that, and you know, because you know what children have to go through.
Right.
And if you're not there and you like, oh, well, that woman just lied to me, huh? And, you know, I'm just hurt because her, and don't consider the child who have to, you know, wake up and ask where you are. And you know how much you love that child, that you saying the same thing, what is my baby doing? You know, a lot of times that's unbearable. And that's why a lot of men raise children that's not theirs once they find out about that. So there's no right or wrong there, but I can understand the love for both in this situation. So I would hope Anonymous would consider them both and err toward the child, because the child is innocent and will be here a lot longer and have need for you a lot more than she do. And thank you for your call, for your question. And our next question comes from Chantel from Los Angeles. And Chantel want to know, if she lied about the child, what else have she been lying about? That's a good question.
That's a great question, Chantel.
You tell one lie, you have to tell another.
That will bring up many red flags, and I know a lot of time, you know, you create a lie because it's a sense of urgency, but that is a fact. How many lies are you gonna keep telling because you gotta keep building? You just getting yourself deeper. I would hope that would have been at the end of the rope right there, but you know, that's what I was saying. With that, it's just that David, it brings so much doubt, because now, even though y'all done consoled and got okay and kind of over this, in the back of this man's mind, because I know with me, it's like, I'm always looking like, you know, even, you know, is this really the truth? Is this concrete what she's saying, or is this something to, you know, this again keep me thrown off guard with, you know?
Yeah, because they say if you lie about small things, you'll lie about big things. And if you tell one lie, you have to tell another lie to cover that one up, and it never ever stops. And the story is ever changing. And that's something that Anonymous have to consider as he rethink all of those things that he was going through throughout the relationship? As you think back on all of this, you know, you're going to think about a lot of things, especially when you were going out, different things that may have been said about you and the child that now you really feel betrayed. You know how a lot of times they'll say, oh, he or she looks just like you. Oh, she, you know, looks like your mom or this and that. Knowing that this child is not yours.
Knowing that. And the mental part of it can get to a person that will wear them down. I know, I get it, man. It's
yeah.
Oh, I get it. Man.
Yeah, so you know, that is one of the things that you are gonna be always thinking about, the trust and the, you know, the deceit. What were you hiding? What else are you hiding?
I'm asked, can I'm like, on that, can he really just feel comfortable anymore? Because man, it's just that. Ooh, boy, that's.
Well,
and I know we all make mistakes.
We make mistakes, but
man, that's.
Well, again, the situation here now is that, and we have to bring this into light, the reasoning and what happened on how this actually happened. Now, according to her confession, this happened during the bachelorette party where they had a dancer. One thing led to another. And one unfaithful night before the wedding caused this to happen.
And only to take one time.
Mm-hmm. And by it happening at that particular time, right before the honeymoon, and this all happened, the pregnancy happened during this time, she claimed she didn't know because she did not want to expose the fact that she was unfaithful during one of those nights where she was with the girls and supposed to have been celebrating, but one thing led to another. Now, so that's just, I just wanted to add that when we were saying, what else is she hiding? Well, she was hiding that, but she confessed that because during that conversation about how did this happen, and this is how it happened, and that's why she says she knows who the father is, because this was the only person that she was with.
Trying to hide and cover up her deceit. But then again, that's why I was saying it always gonna come back to bite you sooner or later. And you know, she probably was thinking it was gonna happen because a lot of times it takes one night, but a lot of times you are fortunate enough to make it and it don't. But man, it's just that's
well,
that's
well, still the problem is still here.
Yeah,
because
it's not going away.
Yeah.
Well, it can't go away now.
Yeah, well, because now everything's out now.
Yeah.
And our next question comes from Peaches out of Houston, and she want to know, if the child is not yours but call you dad, can you really walk away? And the answer to me would be no. That would be hard for me to walk away from a child that I've raised for 10 years that calls me dad, that I look at in the morning and he see me as his hero and I'm responsible for him and I have such a love and a bond for him. There's no way I could walk away.
You can't walk away. You couldn't walk away because that child, he or she, you are, like I say, as you said, the hero. You are the protector. You are the provider. You are, you are her or his mentor. You teach everything. They depend on you. I wouldn't walk away. I mean, at that point, it's basically yours. It's just not biological, but even in her eyes or his eyes, he gonna look at you as my dad or my father or whatever. She gonna look at you as my dad or my father. So no, I couldn't walk away.
No, I couldn't.
Oh,
but now my main man Bruce out of Saginaw, Michigan, he say, now hold on. He done text in and
he
say,
can't let us do
no, he say, hold on, David and Nino, I'm not gonna let y'all get away with this. Now, and Bruce, and y'all know Bruce, y'all seen him on the show before.
Yeah.
Now, Bruce is a character. He is a mentor to kids. He's also a basketball coach.
Yes.
Who coached a lot of people who've made it to the NBA.
He's
He
a
knows
great
a
guy.
lot of important people.
Yeah.
And we love having Bruce on our
Bruce is a
channel.
great guy, yeah.
But now Bruce said, hold on now. He want to know, how long did she look you in your eyes knowing that the child wasn't yours? Because she had to know that that baby wasn't yours, because women know what the baby looks like and when they actually got pregnant.
Well, of course she knows, but she was over a barrel. She knows. She knows she was over a barrel. It is kind of the situation is too far gone to turn back.
Well, that makes you wonder, how long did she actually know? Even though it may have happened during that time, that brings up a good point there, Bruce. You're right. How long did she actually know? You know, because there is a time thing, there a day or two, or however this happens when you have that party, you get married, and you go on your honeymoon, and you know, you
And
you
then
have
it's
sex.
time when, you know, conception all with the pregnancy and everything goes down. And by chance, you know, I know probably when they were on the honeymoon, her and the husband did what they did. So it's possible they did, but like I say, it takes time for conception. So
Yeah.
you know, it was straddling the fence with
Well.
the dancer and the husband.
Yeah, see now Bruce done stirred up a hornet's nest now,
Oh,
because
he got a
now
bus already.
I want to know now, even though you're drunk, how you gonna have unprotected sex with somebody before we get married? Now, those are some of the things you're gonna have to think about.
Yeah.
Now that you know, these types of things have been brought up, and you wanted us to air this out to where you can actually make a good decision. And Bruce do bring up a good decision. How long did she look you in your eyes knowing? Especially during a 10-year period. You want to know, the other caller want to know what other lies you may have told. Have you continued to see this guy? And how did you get pregnant by this guy on one shot thing? Did you and your husband, was y'all having sex before marriage? It's a lot that's going through people's head now that you would have to, we're actually going through your head. And our callers are actually thinking also. And that's what makes this so complex.
See, now understanding it was that close like that.
Yeah.
Because like I say, it is time with conception and everything. See, actually you would have to go to the doctor and see when, you know, the celebrity dancer, then when this and when the conceiving and all that, what week was this. I mean, it's a lot to that, man. It's a lot to that.
And you would wonder that a woman should know, especially as time went on over the years. When did you truly know that that child was not his? And you made that decision to keep it a secret. And how did he actually find out?
And see, Dave, what I was going to ask you too, and then this could be even the crazy thing, if the child even bear resemblance until the actual husband, you know, because that'll make it really quirky right there. Because listen, a lot of times that's what they go on. Well, the child resembles such and such and such and such, but if the child actually resembles the husband, then it ended up being, it wasn't even the husband, not the biological dad. Boy, this is
There's a lot to unpack right there, because over the years you had to know something as the woman, and that you can't be excused from that. So that's another part of this that Anonymous have to factor in as you make your decisions.
David, she had to have a lot of sleepless and tossing and turning nights, even when the husband, because man, that's a big burden is to be carrying, because sooner or later she has to know, man.
Well,
I mean, you know.
she has to know, but she may have felt that since this may have been this exotic dancer that she felt she would never see again, and he would never know nothing about this.
I'm just gonna let it go away.
I'm just gonna let it go away. But still, there's a lot to go through on that, because not only was you unfaithful, you was you were reckless.
You were unprotected. Right.
So
right.
That you just can't excuse that.
Right.
You just can't excuse that. And Bruce, you brought up a good point. And it makes a man
like
wonder,
you always do.
Like you always do. Thanks a lot, Bruce. You helped like you always do. And our next question comes from Blue Water, Ohio. Anthony Burgess.
Yes, sir.
And Anthony want to know, if she knew and kept it secret, should that be criminal? Well, Blue, you got a point there, especially if you got a lot of money involved.
Whoa, thank you. The
it
money.
seems like that's a premeditated act. What you think, Nino?
Whoa, that's And I know when we get married, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. But man, that's to be already in a lie like that, because the part of what's yours is mine is yours is this is my actual family right here.
Mhm.
You know, biologically this is my family. This is my family by association, which I mean by, you know, I married this woman and she had a kid, because you got to go back to think what the husband is thinking now.
Mhm.
And he thinking, I know me myself, again, I have been mistreated and largely betrayed.
Mhm. Oh,
Largely.
Yeah.
Largely betrayed.
Yeah. This could be.
And not taking nothing from the kid, because I'm going to still stand by the kid 10 toes down, but I'm talking about to this woman, this wife.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you premeditated this then, if that's the case, because, you know, according to what we, you know, was Anonymous told us, he's the breadwinner with a very, very good job,
Mhm.
and you actually did do her, but was not working throughout after the baby came. So that could possibly make you think that it's something criminal, because if it's a premeditated act to get money from you, to get you to raise a child that she knowingly knew was not yours, and again, if she knew this,
Isn't that a form of extortion?
it could be. That's what I'm saying. You could possibly, if you were looking to file for divorce and go down that route, there could be something said for that, if there is grounds and you have proof that this did occur, that she knew this and still led you to believe the child was yours. I think, you know.
I would think so too.
So that could be possible, Blue, if Anonymous were to look and rethink on what happened and come to that conclusion, he could go along those lines, I believe. And thank you, Anthony, for that question. And our next question comes from Luther out of Chicago.
Mhm.
And Luther says, should the mother be punished for not telling the truth from the beginning? Should you hold that against the mother for not coming clean in the beginning, saying, I was unfaithful to you before we got married, right before the wedding?
Man, I'm about to say yes. I'm going big. Well,
You think she should have straight came clean? Do you think he would have still married her if she had said, hey, I had a fling right before we got married?
well, that's what I just finna say. She probably seen we didn't got this for now, and I know that's gonna turn the wedding upside down right there. Which let's cut to the chase. It's not gonna even be no wedding.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be no wedding.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be no wedding, because you can't tell me if the shoe was on the other foot and the man would have cheated on the woman. The woman would have said, "Oh no, I'm not gonna take no vows with you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take no." So I guess she is thinking then, well, you know, I'm already stuck between the rock and the hard spot. So now I just gotta play along with it. But man, you know, I hate to say it, sweetie, but man, you got drunk and then you should have just kept. You know, you just should have kept silent, because that's really done brought a lot of problems. Because, yeah, if she came clean with that, wedding's called off. Wedding's called off. Wedding is called off.
So a lot of times the truth ain't the best policy.
No.
Well, look where we're at right now.
Yeah, I know.
We're 10 years later, now the truth's come out.
I know.
The truth come out. So should the truth have came out in the beginning?
Well, that goes to, that's a lot of time you pay for your actions. You got to be very accountable for what the actions that you do. And I know she was tipsy, but still, that's not going to be that's not going to be that's not going to be a solid piece of evidence, or that's not going to be no excuse because she was tipsy. Because still, you are only punished about the actions that you do. And see, you got to be careful, because think about this, David, and I'm gonna let you get back to it. The husband could have went out and did his due at his bachelor party with one of these other ladies, and he could have said, "Well, I got drunk," and he could have impregnated her.
Yeah, you're right. It could have easily went the other way.
Yeah.
But as we know, men and women look at cheating different.
They do.
Especially
they do.
when you
They do.
the woman that you love. You know, it seems like
it'll hurt me. It'll
Yeah.
destroy me. I'm not gonna even lie to you. It'll destroy me.
But now, Anonymous is destroyed now 10 years later. So that's a tough one there, and I can understand Luther's question. But we all know what would have been the outcome had the truth been told right before the wedding. And our next question comes from Shonda out of Dallas. And she says, would you ever tell a child the truth if the father is nowhere to be found? Or would you keep it a secret forever? Do you actually tell the child that he has another father? Now the reason why this is a good question is because let's use a scenario for instance. Say for instance you need the father's DNA or the blood transfusion and we need it from the father. You know how sometimes you have to do a match to see if maybe a kidney or however that works, right? If that ever came up and you have to get a match and then, you know, some kind of way you need it from somebody biological so it could be, you know, a match to that person's body. You know, it could come out. See, this could come out in a number of ways to find out eventually that the first person that's raised you is not your biological father. And that's what I think we're talking about right now. Do we keep it a secret that I'm not your biological father forever? Or do we say that, you know, your father is someone else? Do we tell that to a kid if there's no reason to, Nina?
Well, I'm going to say it like this, and I know y'all going to kind of say I'm playing, but I'm going to say it just like this. Perfect example, David. Now, with that situation and a blood transfusion, then I possibly would. But if I'm doing a good job as this father, that not the biological father, but as this young lady or young man father, and I'm doing a good job, and everybody, and she's comfortable, he's comfortable, and I'm comfortable, then no, I would have to say no. But now back to you said, because that was a heck of an example. Now with that right there, possibly would, because the kid, especially if the kid was some way found out or know that only that with a blood transfusion that it has to be a biological match. And, you know, because the first thing they would say is, well, why my dad right here that's taking care of me can't give me a blood transfusion? Why? Because he's not the biological dad. That don't have to be the biological dad. So to that fact, yes. But other than that, if I'm doing a good job and there's no need for it, and this kid believes, you know, that I'm his dad or her dad, even though I'm not the biological, I wouldn't say that.
Well, wouldn't that be perpetrating a lie the whole life? That'd be dishonest, being dishonest with the child the whole life and knowing it. Do you think that would eventually hurt the child?
Well,
now, and the reason why I'm saying that, Nina, because what if all of a sudden one day that guy comes out of nowhere?
Oh yeah.
And say, hey, you know, I'm your dad, and she knows it, and there's no denying it, especially when you look up and the man resembles you so much that it's undeniable. Then you risk the kid being mad at you because you know this all of these years and you didn't tell him.
Oh, I get it, what you're saying. A lie was got us here, so we need to be the straight and narrow from now on anyway. But no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because that is a true point. What if the real dad want to step up? Because a lot of times, the biological dad was down and out, but he gets on his feet. Now he want to make a comeback. What I'm trying to say is, actually, he wanted to do the responsible thing. It just that he was down on his luck or something like that. So that can be true too. That can be true too. But I see too, because, you know, kind of deceitful got us here by not keeping it 100. So now I need to just keep it 100, you know, with the child, because they deserve that. He or she deserves that.
Yeah. So that you have to take all of that into consideration, especially when we talk about keeping a secret as big as that. Because remember, we know how secrets are. Eventually they get out. And if that were to get out, you know, we hear a lot of people taking these things the wrong way, not being prepared, and something like that end up ruining their life. So you may have to really consider whether they have the right to know that, and put yourself in that situation and say, would I want to know the truth? And would that make me not love this person that's been taking care of me as my father? Or would it make me respect him even more by letting me know that, and letting him know that I love you as my own, and I will always. And that's why I'm letting you know that, because I wouldn't want you to find out no other way.
And take a step further, and then let it get back to social society. And you know how kids, peer pressure against kids is. You know, that'll really drive that poor kid just bananas.
Right. So remember, sometimes the truth is the best policy.
Oh, yes.
And we have our a question coming from Alexis out of Arlington, Texas, and she said, should a woman who lies about a child's father be trusted ever again? And that's a very good question coming from a woman, and thank you so much, Alexis.
I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna say, yes, she can be trusted again. Things happen. I mean, I know she made a hasty decision in a panic mode time, but you know, I know people make mistakes, and you know, I'm gonna look at it like I'm gonna try to be considerate. I'm not gonna try to be harsh. Now, probably people gonna say, well, no, she never could be trusted again, but sometimes people do make mistakes and learn from their mistakes. Now, sometimes people are just perpetuants, and they gonna do what they gonna do, and that's how they get down. But I'm just gonna say, I think she deserves redemption. Now, she might not get it to the social media, but I think anybody, because this thing, if it would happen to you and you truly want to change, you would want a second chance. You would want a second chance.
Right. Well, you would want one, but would you deserve one? Now remember, all lies aren't the same.
Right.
Now, whether you want to believe that or not.
Right. That's true.
Some a lot bigger. Something as big as this. This ranks as one of the biggest lies that could be told.
Well, I think this would really, you have to really put everything on the table with her coming toward the relationship. Now, from then on, well, if her and the husband end up getting a divorce, and anybody else will know about her, happen to know about her past, or if this even surfaced, you know, her relationship history is a crapshoot, though.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying on that. Now, she could be the sweetest person on anything else, but her relationship history.
Mm-hmm. And you know what makes this, to me, a question that you really have to think about is because it comes from a woman, and a woman knows a woman lies, and a woman knows a woman.
Yes,
exactly. And now, knowing this is one of the big ones that you could perpetrate, because this one takes a lot of cunning, deviousness, also other people's involved here. You know, because now who else knew about this? Yeah. And this seems like a very big conspiracy, because a lot of times when something like this happens, the woman is not the only one that knows. One of her friends know, and maybe even some of your friends know.
Exactly.
So that's something that needs to be considered here, and that is a point. A woman who lies about something like that, could she ever be trusted again?
Well, I definitely would say no on the relationship now, probably, but definitely no on the relationship, because I mean, like I say, she done, you know, it's turmoil, it's tarnished, it's tainted. You can't believe her.
No,
you can't believe her. You can't believe her on that. You can't. Hey, what's that saying? I can't believe you for as I can throw you.
Right. Because I'm like, it's almost like Nino just said, I can't hear you for looking at you.
Yeah.
On something like this.
I can't.
And after all the emotions is out the way, when you have to really buckle down and make a good decision here, you're going to think about that. You're going to think about that lie, that big lie right there. And then you're going to wonder how many lies were told to cover up that big lie. And how long have you known that? So, Alexis, that is a good question. And that's something Anonymous have to consider when we're dealing with that, is that is a very serious trust issue when you're being deceitful about something like that. And you've seen how much the child meant to your husband.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I just would say, dude seems like a good dude, man, a real good, solid dude, man. And you know, I would hate that to happen to anybody because I can picture that David happening to me, and I know how that would hurt me.
Yeah. So, you know, I want to, you know, we have some more questions, but you know, we're gonna wrap this up, and I want Nino. I'm gonna let you start with on how we're gonna summarize this and your final thoughts on actually what Anonymous should do. You know, a person who have a very good job, who have a strong love for his wife and child, who raised a child for 10 long years, going through the ups and downs, but each year the love grew stronger and stronger, believing the child was his own, only to find out that one night of weakness changed his life. So he's wondering now, and that's what we're going to summarize, you know, and tell me, is DNA that important to the overall picture on raising a child that's not yours? And could you forgive your wife for one mistake like this, Nino?
On the answer, on the question about the DNA, it has to be with a circumstance like this, because obviously one night with the stripper that happened with the lady, you know, at a little party, one night of fun that caused a perfect marriage turmoil. Now, on this situation with the guy, the husband, hey man, keep your head up. You have nothing to feel down or look down for, because you've been a solid citizen, you've been a solid husband, you've been a solid father to who you thought was biologically yours, but it's not biologically yours. You have did everything right. You have checked all the boxes and everything. You have did everything that needs to be done. So you keep your head up. And whether you stay in this with your wife and you can get over this or whatever, or you want to just end it because it's totally up to you, you still are a good dude, and I think you will find, you know, what you looking for. You will find your best life with somebody else. Now, to that child, my guy, you doing the right thing. Raise that child, because as we said in the preset, the child shouldn't have to be punished or have to suffer for nothing, because that's just a child. That child looks up to you, and you have raised it, and you have did a good job in raising it. So all I'm gonna say is, it don't take but a few seconds to turn something that's wonderful into something that's miserable. And also, I'm gonna have to keep saying too, what you do in the dark gonna come out in the light.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with everything you said, Nino. And I keep coming back to one thing. I want to put myself in this man's shoes, because that's the only way we can actually feel this. You know, you got to actually feel like this
It's
actually
you.
happened
It's
to
you.
you.
Yeah, that's how I've been trying to put myself, David. This is me.
And when we put ourselves in that position, the hurt that I know I would feel behind this betrayal of something so sacred as my wife giving her precious body to a stranger that easily, that would concern me.
A lot.
Yes, because drinking couldn't be the only factor that made that happen.
Thank you. And I'm tired of people always putting that onus on that. Oh, they were just drinking. You want to do it anyway.
And that's what I was thinking, Nina. I wanted to ask you that before I actually finish. What do you think about that excuse that she used?
Nah, well, just think about it, David. They say drinking brings out how you really feeling anyway. So you want to do it anyway. You just was a coward. Now you got the gall, the audacity to do it now. Because now the drinking is gonna make you stick your chest out. You know, I'm powered up, I can do it now. But that old saying been for years. Drinking makes you come out or makes you perform how you really feeling.
And that's what I can't get away from. Something like that could make you do something like you did in front of all those women, in front of your friends. And now I'm thinking about all of your friends knowing what you did. And they been coming around me, smiling in my face. And they probably all been looking at the baby all of these years, saying that baby look like that stripper, whatever his name is. See, that deviousness right there is hard for me to get over, Nino.
I agree with
You know,
brother. I agree with
before we could even go further, that is really made me mad. It made me mad because now I'm wondering, how easy are you? You were that easy to let this man do this to you in front of your friends,
unprotected.
unprotected? What kind of sexual freak are you? Do I truly know who you are now? Because to me, now something like that, it shows your true nature. It shows something that was in you that I had no idea that was there. Now, how long have you been continually feeding that need you have?
That urge.
That urge. See, it's making me wonder and think too much. It making me never trusting you. It's hard to trust you now because of how devious you were in concealing this, and how you had all of these enablers. It's almost like you had people like Puff Daddy have, helping you out, conceal the fact, and maybe helping you facilitate your meetings with this guy.
So Dave, you really saying you just about to go divorce her and cut ties?
Well, because remember, to me, it would be hard to trust her again
Right.
like that
Yeah.
because of what you did.
Right.
And we're gonna bring it to you straight.
Right.
Because I know how I am. It's hard for me to continue to look at you the same way or believe anything you said after you've pulled this off on me for 10 years. Because
10
now
years?
I'm looking back over the years. I'm looking at where were you on this night? Where was you on this night? And all your friends been vouching for you. You going over their house. You going? I don't know where you going.
Where was you when you came in late, and then I'm
Yeah.
asking, and then you getting a little hot under the collar, and then telling me I'm overreacting and exaggerating? I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
Your friends been lying for you.
I get you.
Now I don't like them no more. You know, it's so I can't at this point. Once you considering everything, you right there right now. You haven't even gotten to the kid part. You so hurt that she's been lying. You're even wondering, do the kid know? Now, a lot of times I gotta tell you, the kids be knowing more than you think they know. Because a woman may let him know, and you don't know. You see, you wondering all of this. You assuming, but now you wondering, do I trust my kid? Did she ever tell him? And you know, because we know the mother is the first teacher of the kid, and the kid most of the time gonna do what mom say. And mom may have him keeping a secret. Who knows? But all of this, it opens up all of this for you wondering and thinking. You know, once that trust is broken on something as big as this, just like one of the callers said, how could you trust her again after lying about something like this?
Dave, you look at it like I'm the one only getting played because the kid know.
He could know.
She, and she know. So the one that's doing the right thing, the one that's providing, and the one that's being solid, is the one getting played.
Is the one getting played.
Well, Dave, you know what? Is it kind of that old saying we had that podcast way back, or we didn't have me and you done went back and forth on it. Sometimes nice guys do finish like that.
Yeah. But then now, okay, so let's say, okay, right now we don't trust the woman no more. You just a liar. I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. Now we just got to concentrate on the kid because now you saying, okay, I don't want to be with you no more. I can't even sleep with you without wondering what kind of person you truly are. So now here's the kid. So what decision do we make on the kid now? We love the kid. we've been in the kid's life for 10 years. It's going to be hard to do anything other than continue what you've been doing. It's hard to turn on and off love for a child.
Yeah.
Where you can do it for a woman or a man, whenever it goes that way. You know, you can get mad at your spouse and you be like, I'm finished with them. But it's hard to do that for a kid.
Yeah.
So now we have the kid that loves you and you love the kid. You have to stay in the kid's life, regardless of what type of conniving woman she is. If the kid looks at you like you are his father, you got to continue that role because you got to be his father, his mentor, and you got to do all that. That is your responsibility. There's no getting out of that.
Right now.
There's no getting out of that.
Right.
But that is how I would handle that, because I have not even gotten to all the other things that I would be going through my mind because of a deceit like this. But one of the things that would be crystal clear is that 10-year marriage would be over, because she has been lying, her friends has been lying. I want to get away from all of them. The whole group of
the whole circle is terrible.
Yeah.
Toxic, terrible. I'm talking about deceitful. The whole circle is, but you know, think about it. A lot of times that's how women roll, and not to knock women, but when they roll in packs, they all they all in, they know, because the whispers, they know, and that's terrible, man.
Yeah,
that is so sad.
If you think so less of your body to have unprotected sex when you are a married woman, then what happens after that is your fault, and that's how I look at it.
I mean, David, it's so crazy because you couldn't even wait till we got to the honeymoon. You had to spread your goodies, and then had enough gall to still come spread your goodies to me before unprotected with somebody else, and lay there and look me dead in the eye.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, that hurt that I didn't even want to talk about. Like I said, so much that would get me, especially now.
But that just ran across my mind right then and there.
Well, it gonna hurt you when you sit back and think about, damn, I got by a stripper. And you know, a stripper, he think he's all that. Now.
Yes.
So you know, now how you gonna follow up this stripper guy? So you really mad?
Yeah.
That now not only was you out of there, that this guy had you going so hard that you let him go in raw. So that right there, just I can't get that out of my head. He had you so hypnotized on whatever he did, and then I'm like, how do I live up to that? And I'm like, now you faking with me. It's just so much would go to it. That's why I said, you know, it was so much be involved in that I'd have to cut ties, because every time I see one of her friends, I'm mad at them, and I'm wondering what kind of fool do they think I am.
Yeah, because but you said it, sir. Faking with me. Faking with me. You're fake.
Yeah.
You're fake.
So,
you're fake.
And the bottom line is, that's what how I would look at that. You would still have to be concerned about the child, but her, I would wash my hands of her. And I would even question the story about the dancer. I would wonder, is that true, or is that somebody that you've been with? But if you were to tell something like that, that would make it even worse. That if that is true, that you were able to be manipulated or being seduced that easily on the eve of our getting married by someone that you've never seen until that very night, that alone is enough reason for me to divorce you and to have nothing else to do with you other than to continue to be in the kid's life. And I ended at this, Nino. And one thing would happen at this point, a lot of times the women being spiteful, knowing how much you care for the kid, will start saying, you ain't gonna see the kid no more. So you gotta be prepared for that.
Absolutely.
You know, but you can't be blackmailed into being in a relationship with an untrustworthy woman. This is David.
This is Nino.